in his press conference that in Europe, as in the United States, he is not going to take the blame for what happened a week ago in this country, that, if anything, it was a fault of maybe Hillary Clinton and her campaigning and maybe the Democratic strategy of really not working hard enough. Democratic strategist Harlan Hill. Harlan, do you buy that? Do you think that the president bears any responsibility for what happened a week ago tonight?
Of course, of course. This was a wholesale rejection of the Democratic platform and elites in the Democratic Party like Harry Reid, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton. And I can understand where he's coming from. He doesn't want to come to grips with the fact that basically his landmark legislation like Obamacare, his taxes, regulations have been a complete and total disaster for the American middle class, and they're punishing him in the Democratic Party for it.
You know what's interesting, Harlan? You look at, he's had great success, got elected, got reelected, so touche, good for him.
Yeah.
But other Democrats in general, not so much. I saw this chart, it came out of the Washington Post, but it's rather interesting, showing the decline in just the sheer number of Democrats since 2008. And it startled me because this includes what's happened to the Senate and the House, state legislatures, governorships. We have more Republican governors now since the early 1900s. What's going on here?
Well, I believe that there's a cult of personality around Barack Obama, and a lot of people like him. If you look at his favorable ratings, he's people receive him pretty well personally. Yes. But when you look at the policy, when you drill down to his handling of the economy, when you drill down to his handling of ISIS, people overwhelmingly reject it. And that trickles down to the local level as well. And we saw that Democrats did not take seriously redistricting back in 2010 because they saw Barack Obama win in this big wave, and they thought that they had heralded this new era of, indefeatable, or, a Democratic Party that could not be defeated. And so they didn't take seriously redistricting, and the Republicans won in a landslide in state legislatures. And now that sounds boring, but it's really significant because these legislatures decide what congressional districts look like, and Republicans won at the right time, and they were able to define the Congress for an entire decade. The next time that will happen will be in 2020. So Republicans, I think, are actually positioned really well to double down on what they've done and make sure that they control the Republican House for another 10 years.
And indeed, in the Senate, where there'll be a couple of dozen Democrats up for re-election, they'll be very vulnerable. But I heard from another Democrat, several actually, Harlan, who said that they look at this as a one-off, that Donald Trump is a unique phenomenon. It's not indictment of their pet causes, and it's just this angst that built up in the population and this rage, and that's something that you can't tap again. And the proof, they say, is that if it was universal, they wouldn't have won the popular vote. You say what?
Well, first of all, we all know, and everybody's been saying this as being intellectually honest with themselves, that both campaigns would have run very different campaigns had we not used the Electoral College. But working within that reality, it was a landslide. It was a landslide. And Hillary Clinton was able to architect her entire campaign around the Electoral College. She had 509 campaign offices across this country. Donald Trump only had 207. She put those 509 campaign offices, twice the number that he had, in states that were strategically important to the Electoral College. She wouldn't have put them there if we weren't working within that reality. So I think that's a cop-out. That's a total cop-out.
Yeah, very good point, because you'd run an entirely different race if you were doing it to run up the popular vote. Harlan, thank you very, very much. Harlan Hill, Democratic strategist. All right, in the meantime, what have I told you? A lot of these people have been protesting, especially